Hey everyone, this amazing ESO Network show is brought to you by our fine sponsor, Amazon.com. Please remember to shop Amazon for all your geeky needs, no matter what time of the year it is. All you need to do is go to esopodcast.com/ESO Amazon, or click on the Amazon banner on the ESO Network webpage to go to our e-store. It's the best way to shop and the best way to support this program, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, that's enough of me babbling for now. Now on with your regular scheduled show.
Previously on Podcasserole. Glomer is one of the most underrated cartoon characters of all time.
Some call Glomer the Jar Jar of the PBU, you know. I haven't stepped foot inside of a subway since, really.
And neither is Jared.
It's true.
You're over at my home every week. Is there a meth lab here?
Not a big one.
I choose him, the one called Kirk. I'm freaking James D. Kirk.
Find out more about Podcasserole now on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. And don't forget adamandjp.com and the ESO Network.
Hello, and welcome again to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. I am your host, The Monster. Don't I sound alive now, after a week of sounding really tired? Yes, I have rested. I have watched more Iron Fist than I cared to watch. Thankfully, that crap is over. So I finished it yesterday. And man, it did not get any better. I am so disappointed in this latest Netflix series. Again, the only reason why I watched this is so that it leads into The Defenders, which is coming out later this summer/fall. So that's the only reason why I even stuck through this. But honestly, save yourself the trouble. Don't bother watching. There's plenty of other stuff to watch. So, in the funk that I was after the 13th episode, I had to do like some kind of movie sorbet to kind of cleanse my palate. So I wound up watching a Doctor Who episode that I actually got from the library called The Return of Dr. Mysterio, which I completely missed over the holidays, but now it's on DVD and I checked it out. And it was okay. It wasn't anything spectacular, considering that this is supposed to be a Christmas movie. There was a mention about a Christmas tree. You see it once, and that's about it. So I don't see this being more of a Christmas episode like it normally is. So I was like, but it was still better than Iron Fist. Still better. And that's saying a lot about Iron Fist. So I watched the other Christmas episode that I completely missed, the Husbands of River Song, which completely won me over right from the very beginning. Lots of humor, lots of fun, and the kind of Doctor that I've missed for a very long time. That it's not a dark episode, but it's a rather fun episode, even though it does have some little dark tones coming through the episode. But it was very fun watching them again. So I was very happy with that. And then this morning, I watched Sucker Punch by Zack Snyder. And I'm not going to be saying that, Zack Snyder is the all and be all of movie directors. But my God, I've really enjoyed watching this movie over and over again, because I've been listening to the soundtrack more times than I actually listened to or watched the movie. So when I finally got to see this movie, again, I was really enthralled by it. Just visually, it's stunning. And, it's the kind of storytelling that It's very basic. You have objects you have to collect, and you go along the story, and you have X amount of days to count it down. So it moved the story along, and each scene that they were going into the imaginary world to get the next object was fantastic. Again, visually stunning, and lots of superhero landings. That's all I can say about that. But again, I don't mind that. If it's done so well that you are entertained, no matter how you feel about the director, as long as at the end of the day you are entertained, then it's done its job. Iron Fist didn't do that. Again, Colleen Wing, who is in the series, that character, much better as an Iron Fist as Iron Fist would ever be. I didn't care about his chi tying into his Iron Fist. Although, the one cool thing that got me really excited, he gets to be to watch a clip, an old clip that was shown, filmed back in, I guess, the 40s or whatever, 50s. And supposedly, it's of another Iron Fist. But he's got 2 Iron Fists. So it's plural, so that's one more than the other guy has. But what was cool about it is that even though it's black and white, he's fighting, and he's really I was really impressed with the little bit of action that I saw. And I'm like, why can't we get that guy? I don't want Danny Rand to be Iron Fist anymore. I want that guy that I saw in the old footage. That was great. This was not. And then on top of all that, there is no origin story. Rule number 1, when you're writing a script, what are you supposed to do? You show. You don't tell. You show the story. There was nothing except for flashbacks, which it's always going back to Danny being beat as a kid by the monks. And that's it. I mean, seriously, I didn't care about any of this, and considering how lackluster this character is to begin with, or the fact that he's not as well known, again, other than if you're a comic book fan and you know him, and you know he's part of the duo with Luke Cage, then you're good with that. But the problem lies, for the majority of us, and including me, do I know anything more about him? No, I don't. That's the sad part. So, this is the case when you should have had an origin story. So at least you get a sense of who this character is. Because again, his plane goes down at the age of 10. So for 15 years, he's gone missing. So by the time he comes back, he's 25. Nowhere do I care about this character. And that's the problem. He's the hero that has no plan. He's kind of wandering about. So that's the disappointing part of all this. So, enough of that. So, like I said, I have to have a movie sorbet to cleanse my palate. And I will be seeing Ghost in the Shell, and hopefully that will help also be a better movie than that I saw of Iron Fist. So, putting all that aside, what were the big 3 topics that I'm talking about? Well, we got Mud in Your Eye. Harry Mudd is coming to STD. Not that as a sexually transmitted disease. It's Star Trek Discovery, you fools. And we have an R-rated Venom movie that's kind of now in the works. And the best news of all, Joss Whedon is coming to the DC side to actually do a Batgirl solo movie. Oh my god. I am so beyond myself right now. A Batgirl movie directed by Joss Whedon. I'll get to that in a moment.
Stella? Dear?
Hardcore Fenton Mudd, where have you been? What have you been up to?
Yes. Hardcore Fenton Mudd. Or for short, Harry Mudd. He is definitely a con man, a forger, a thief, a psychopath maybe. But a very, very lovable scoundrel. If you are a Star Trek fan, you definitely know who this character is from the original series. Harry Mudd was in 3 episodes, 2 from the actual original series and 1 in the animated series. He did Mudd's Women and I, Mudd, which you heard the little play there at the end with his wife Stella, which was an android from that episode. And the 3rd one is from the animated series called Mudd's Passion. So, what's great about this is that we are going to get this character back, which, in fairness, I'd rather see this than have Enterprise bring back 2 races that failed to mention any of it to Starfleet, like the Ferengi encounter, or when they encountered the Borg. I'm still pissed about that. That's ridiculous. Aside from that. So, Star Trek Discovery is going to bring back this character. Rainn Wilson from The Office, who played Dwight Schrute, who was also in another movie called The Super. Not Super, but it's called Super, in 2010, written by James Gunn. And if you know who he is, he's the guy who is doing Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and Volume 2. So I definitely want to look this up, because I'm looking for new material. I tried looking at the Schrute Farm pilot, and it didn't really take off with me, because they try to make it so that Dwight was like the normal one out of the whole family. There are other worse people, and having the same style of The Office documentary follow them just didn't work. So I'm eager to see him do something that's going to be part of what I love to watch. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to watch the Smurfs live action or the combination pseudo CGI with live action where he played the voice of Gargamel. I don't care for it. Smurfs were really hard to get through because of the whole everything is Smurfy, Smurf this, Smurf that, go Smurf yourself, blah blah blah. So I'm done with the Smurfs. So I love Rainn, and I want to see the Super movie, but there's no reason for me to watch anything other than that stuff. So again, tying this into Star Trek Discovery, I think it's going to be fantastic. This news just came out literally just moments ago before I started recording. There is no information other than he is going to be reprising this role. Now, there is no information about how many episodes, if he's going to be a series regular, who knows. But for right now, I am eager for this show to happen, because as you know, it's been delayed until late summer, fall, what have you. But as I was doing some research, one of the things that I found out was that the character was going to be brought back on the original series for the third season, called Deep Mud, in which he passed, and then Roddenberry also considered him later on for the next generation. So if you remember the episode The Neutral Zone, in which there were the characters that were brought from kind of like present day to the 24th century, Harry Mudd was going to be part of that to be brought into next generation. So that didn't happen. And then the other thing too, again, just finding this out, that he was going to be a character witness for Kirk's trial in Star Trek for the Voyage Home. And unfortunately, because of his death, that did not happen. But still, what a cool thing it is to have a character be brought back and still be considered a popular enough character that you still want to bring him back into a brand new audience. So I think that in itself is fantastic. So again, Harry Mudd, Rainn Wilson, Star Trek, I can't get any more excited about that, but it's going to be fantastic. So I'll get you more information when I know more about it. But for right now, that's a great start for a series that we are eager to all watch. All right, so let's get on to our next topic. All right, so that is part of the music you heard in Spider-Man 3, in which that starred Tobey Maguire, the third and last outing. And there was the additional storyline with Sandman. So if you took out Venom from that whole equation, and if you know the story behind why the studios thought it was a good idea to, hey, let's put in Venom in there along with Sandman, and it was probably one of the worst mistakes. And this one I don't blame Sam Raimi on, but if you took that portion out, Sandman actually was a decent enough villain, and actually you cared about his motivations because he did have a daughter. So, but putting that aside, the whole storyline with the revenge factor that Peter was going through and Venom kind of worked together. So how is this going to work now that we have a new Spider-Man and there's a recent Homecoming trailer that just came out? Well, according to the information that it just came out, saying that Venom will be independently from the Spider-Man Homecoming movie. So he will exist independently. I don't know how that's going to work without a Spider-Man in there, but they're planning to be set in the same universe as Black Cat and Silver Sable. Okay, you're going really way down there on the list of popular characters. I know of these two. At least I know of Black Cat. But I'm not sure how they're going to pull this one off, because the whole storyline is, if you know from the comics, Peter got the costume during the Secret Wars that happened years ago. So he became this new Spider-Man with a black costume and a white spider on his chest. So, but it was being that he was a symbiote, living off Peter's anger, and that became basically a separate character onto itself and became Venom, and later on we got Carnage, and then that's a whole other thing. But considering that it's going to be, one, an R-rated movie, and this is Sony, they had big hits with Deadpool and Logan, which Gene and I talked about. So they're going for a Venom that's R-rated. I don't think it will be really necessary to go down that road to do an R-rated version. I mean, except for some gore and some violence, Venom's not going to be cursing a lot, if any. So I think you can cross that off the list. But it's just a weird thing to start a franchise with a villain. And if you go back to, well, Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3 and in the comics, he also became part of Venom. So from what I've been hearing, this is just a rumor that I have not confirmed, but there are reshoots happening in Atlanta in order to incorporate at least something about Eddie in that movie, so that it sets up the possibility of Venom and Eddie Brock. Now, if they had done that with Spider-Man 3, I think that would have been cool, to set up Venom so that by the time you go to the Spider-Man 4, then it was all Venom. But for the most part, the Venom that we saw, I think worked on the screen, considering that it has to be a CGI character. And considering if they're doing this as a standalone movie, I don't see this being very expensive other than trying to do CGI. Because you don't really need to have a high-profile actor to play Eddie Brock, and the star of the movie is not even real. So I guess it's a win-win, sort of. But again, you could have done something different to set up that universe. And there is some information out there, and I have to confirm, but the Life movie that recently just came out with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds, supposedly, again, I have to confirm, I have not seen this, but the end of the movie is what sets up the Venom movie. So, considering it's owned by Sony, that'll be actually a smart and great move. If that's the case, kind of like what they did with the 10 Cloverfield Lane, that is set in that universe, so it still ties into Cloverfield. So if that's the case, bravo on them if that's what's going to happen. But again, I have to watch the movie. I have to know if this is even remotely close. But again, you're going to have to figure out a way how Venom gets to Earth and how he basically picks Eddie and not deal with Spider-Man at all. So that's kind of a strange thing to do. So we'll see what happens. But okay, you know, I'm all in. If they want to do their own little superhero universe, whatever they want to call it, even though it's not Marvel per se with Disney, They'll do their own pseudo MCU, but with their own characters that they own. Man, maybe throw some X-Men in there. You got them all. I don't know. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm kind of happy about this, but I'm also kind of not sure about this. So we'll see what happens with this. But the good news is that we do have a date. We do have a date. It's going to be coming up on October 5th, 2018. So about a year and a half. Just about a year and a half, we're going to get a Venom movie. So I don't know if that's going to be enough time to get the script done and start working and get it all done. But good luck to you guys. I'm rooting for ya. All right. So let's move on to the last big news item. Batgirl.
Where do you come from? Where do you go? What is your scene, baby? We just gotta know. Batgirl, Batgirl.
All right, so the last part here. Let's do a little bit of time traveling here. Let's go all the way back 10 years ago. The year that was 2007. Joss Whedon was attached to write and direct Wonder Woman. So before MCU got their act together, we could have had a Wonder Woman movie done by Joss. And DC could have been leading the pack, so to speak, for the franchise that Marvel now dominates. But of course, things did not work out. The movie did not get made. They tried with other writers after Joss had left, and then nothing. So, you know that he did the Avengers. He did the Avengers 2, which is not as great as the first Avengers. So there was always the thought that Gene and I talked about in the past. Would it be kind of cool if Joss came back to the DC and actually did one of our movies? So the DC universe is getting fleshed out. There is a new animated Teen Titans, the Judas contract coming out April 4th. The Wonder Woman is June 2nd of this year, and the Justice League is November 17th. And then sometime in 2018, we are going to be getting the Batman movie. Who knows when that's going to happen. But March 23rd is supposed to be the Flash movie. And then Aquaman was supposed to come out October 5th. But again, as I mentioned, Venom is taking that slot since it's now coming on December 21st of 2018. Nightwing supposedly is going to be coming out in 2019. So in that mix, we're going to get a Batgirl movie. So how freaking cool is that? That Joss is going to not necessarily redeem himself. He's done, I'm not going to curse, he's done a great amount of work that is to be respected and to be in awe of. The recent cover for this week for Entertainment Weekly is for Buffy, which is 20 years old, which I am not as well versed in the Buffyverse, so to speak. Gene is. He used to want to introduce me to that world, and I love it. I've seen every single episode, but that's not my strong point. I got really hooked onto him because of Firefly, and then everything since that point on. But seriously, a Batgirl series, or at least, let's be pragmatic, a Batgirl movie, hopefully it will become a series. So, as you know, we saw the live-action version by Yvonne Craig back in the 60s with Adam West playing Batman. We had Dina Meyer, who was Batgirl and / Oracle in the short-lived 13-episode run of Birds of Prey. Gene, give me back my box set, which I want to see again. Again, because of Dina Meyer in the Batgirl costume. Very hot. And so was Yvonne Craig. The purple Batgirl. Wow. Very attractive, but I just love Batgirl. And yes, the only thing that she could do is really do these high kicks to all the villains, but then again, the villains were, much anyway, so it was perfect. So, seeing a Batgirl, a strong character that's a female protagonist, versus what Marvel has produced, nothing yet along those lines. We're going to get a Miss Marvel, that's one. But we're going to get Wonder Woman soon. There's a Birds of Prey sort of spin-off, but it's not Birds of Prey, but it's the Suicide Squad spin-off with Harley Quinn, supposedly with Catwoman and Poison Ivy, who knows, but that's going to be another movie to be considered that is going to be female-centric. And you add Batgirl to that. This is what marketing is all about. You have companies who put out product. How do you differentiate yourself from the competition? They're both superhero movies. They both have comic book lines to support their franchise. DC is going about it with diversity and making female superheroes. Marvel hasn't done one. There was talk about a Black Widow movie that Joss wanted to do. That didn't happen yet. It may not happen. But Scarlet is, and again, depending on how I feel about the movie, she's proven to be a box office draw. She can carry her own movie, and Lucy's also a good example. Though I wasn't crazy about Lucy, it was enjoyable to watch. And she's done a ton of great voice acting, like in Her and in The Jungle Book, which I didn't care for, but I liked her snaky voice, so to speak. So there is a market to have strong women characters to be portrayed on the big screen. This may be Marvel's downfall. I don't know if this is what's going to make the difference to have DC EU be superior to MCU. And again, you can argue to the nth degree about what's better, but when it comes to seeing the difference, and I'm not knocking Marvel, but if all they have lined up is Miss Marvel, I'm sorry, you're missing half your audiences to come to your movies. So, I want Wonder Woman to be the big hit. I want Joss to have redemption and doing Batgirl. I want to see Harley Quinn come back to do the spin-off. I want to see these great female characters be on this big screen and be superior to what we have seen already with an all-male dominated cast. I'm watching Supergirl, and I have no problems with her taking the lead. There should not be a reason why there should be any hesitancy on any point. It's like, especially like with action figures, where it's like, well, boys only play with boy toys, but I'm like, you can't exclude characters like Black Widow, who are an instrumental part of that team. You know, in Avengers 2, she comes out of one of the I forgot one of the planes, what their names are, but she comes out onto the road in a motorcycle. But then when a toy was released, there's Captain America and a shield. They took Black Widow out. That's ridiculous. So I'm all for this. So Joss already has my money. If he goes and does this and directs this and writes this, I am there. I don't have to see a trailer. I just know what he can do. And that's good enough for me. So, I want to go on more talking about Batgirl. But there's going to be plenty of news later on. Because one of the good things about this is who can play Batgirl. As I mentioned, you had Yvonne Craig, Dina Meyer. I don't know currently anyone that comes to mind that would be perfect for Batgirl. I I'm not sure of anything right now. From what I've read so far, they are going to do the New 52 Batgirl. This is going to be not the Oracle version, in which Batgirl was paralyzed from the Killing Joke due to the Joker. But there is this one name that keeps popping up as Lindsay Morgan from the 100s. So that's a series on the CW. I have not seen any of it. I know it was very popular. I've tried to watch an interview with her and some other guy from the show. It's hard to kind of gauge the presence you can get from a quick clip, but I have to look at someone's performance. That's what gets me in the right mindset. That's who I want. And I can, again, because I've had a film production background and I worked in casting. When they do a certain reading and you see other actors doing the exact same reading, there's a moment in which, like, aha, it clicks. I haven't seen that because I have to watch someone's performance. So that's why I always like looking at other actors' work, that not just sci-fi stuff, but what have they done dramatically or done a comedic role, and look at their range. Because I think that's important to also remember that not everything is always about sci-fi, but look at the body of work they have done. So I'm always cognizant of, let me see some past work before I can give you my thumbs up saying, yes, I want you to be so-and-so. But, come on, Batgirl, that could not have been any better news. Well, close to the Aquaman footage that came out weeks ago. But, you know, we're possibly getting Matthew Vaughn. We possibly may be getting Mel Gibson. Now, Joss may be on board. This could be the linchpin moment in which DC can gain momentum. And yes, I'm eager to see the Infinity Wars. That's not a question about that. I want it to also succeed. Because again, we all benefit when both sides win. When they produce good stuff. Except for Iron Fist. Yes, and I have to come back to this. I forgot this moment. Somewhere in the episode, I forget which episode, I think maybe 7 or 8 or something, he's fighting an Asian Captain Jack Sparrow. So it's like a drunken master type scenario setting up that he fights a drunken martial artist. But he sounds like Captain Jack from the stupid movies. I hate Pirates of the Caribbean after the first one. But I'm like, he sounds just like him. I was just expecting to see him, you know, take out the gun with the one bullet and shoot himself in the head or something to put an end to my misery. But why is he fighting an Asian Captain Jack Sparrow? Again, I'm just floored about how terrible this series is. And I'll just leave it at that. So, no more. I'm going to be leaving now, because I gotta go watch this damn movie. Alright, so I hope you enjoy this podcast. You can see it's a noticeable change in my energy, and hopefully I will maintain that energy going forward. So, again, you can always email me. You can always talk to me about anything on my various social networks. Please give me a review on iTunes. I would love to hear some nice things. Even if it sucks, write it. Give me a review at least. So, nonetheless, thank you very much for listening to the Monster Sci-Fi Show podcast. Sci-fi from a certain point of view. Good night.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network, your station for all things geek, classic, current, and beyond. Be part of the crew at ESONetwork.com.